Hallelujah, precious people. Welcome to this Sunday's moment of exhortation. Today I want us to share on the concept of grace. Grace is unmerited mercy, and God gives everyone different grace. He gives mercy to different people, even according to their calling and to their assignments. I want to pull out a few cases in the Bible and use David more so as an example for our discussion today. David, the son of Jesse, the youngest, the sons of Jesse, he had 8. He was the youngest. And even according to biblical culture and standards at that time, if somebody was to reign to become king, should have been the first one. But God decided to choose David, to the surprise of his father Jesse and to the surprise of Samuel, Prophet Samuel, who had gone to anoint him. Then God says, I found a man after my own heart. In Acts chapter 13 verse 2 and in 1 Samuel chapter 13 and verse 14. I have found, in David I have found a man after my own heart. But let us see the shortcomings of David. David killed, 2 Samuel chapter 11, he killed Uriah so that he can get his wife, so that he can take his wife. Now that the vilest form of violence, of evil. And then because you cannot say that Bathsheba was willing, even if she was willing, the context could not allow her to will, especially at that time in Israel. She was somebody's wife. And the king was also married. So she gave him because it is the king. She was coerced. In present today parlance, she was raped. Verse 14. So he raped somebody's wife and killed the husband. He also lied and pretended he's mad when he went to King Achish. That would be in 1 Samuel chapter 21. So he lied and pretended that he has gone crazy so that King Achish would leave him, not kill him. David had multiple wives. According to 1 Chronicles chapter 3 and verse 1 to 9, he had 7 wives and several concubines, probably 5, probably 6. Remember, the Bible says one wife. The book of Genesis. At that time, there are people who say, oh, you see, it is appropriate that a man should have 50 because of the ratios, the women are more than men, blah, blah. If that would have been appropriate before God, the best time for him to allow man to have many wives was during the time of Adam. He was one. So God would have given him the 700 wives of Solomon to help fill the world first. But God gave him one because of his reasons, and they are very valid reasons for practical purposes. If you come from a polygamous family, you know how it feels for your father to have 2 wives. It's terrible for your mother. Even if she's the favorite, it's terrible. Na hiyo uhasama inaendeleanga up to the 4th, 5th generations. Waishi na witchcraft, inakuwa na usherati na uzinzi, backstabbing, murders. God said one wife, one woman, for purposes of peace and to worship. And in any case, the wife of God, that is Israel, was one. And the wife of Jesus is the church, just has one wife, one church. We are supposed to be one church, whatever your denominations. But there are fellas who are not the wife of Christ. They are concubines, or so they think. So that they don't want to associate closely according to the will of Christ. They feel they are independent, they are special, they are better than others, so they are not the wife. They need to be treated in a special way. That's how concubines normally behave. Mipango ya kando, they normally behave like that. They want to be treated special. So that when the normal wife is eating sukuma wiki, they want to eat chicken. When the normal wife is being bought a dress worth 500, she wants to be bought a dress worth 20,000. So that she's treated well. Her children's school fees is paid first before the normal wife. Those are concubines. The normal wife is more gracious to the husband, more patient, more kind. The concubine doesn't care about the feelings of the husband as long as her needs are met. We have churches that behave like concubines. They don't care about the feeling of Christ. They don't care about the will, the desires of Christ. So David had 5 concubines, around 5, more than 5, 7 wives. But God still says he's a man after my heart. And he did kill him. He did kill him. He also counted the Israelites. And that was contrary to the will of the Father. In 2 Samuel chapter 24. According to the laws of God in Exodus 30, you are not supposed to count. But if there is a very good reason to count, then everyone was supposed to give an offering, a sin offering for allowing to be counted. Because human beings have a tendency to trust in numbers. I have 30 friends, I'm safe. I have 20 sons, I'm safe. I have a big army, I am safe. The Iranians, they are trusting in their army and their number of aircrafts and soldiers and artillery and the weapons. They trusted in them. And also, they are more than 100 million. The Israel is just about 10 million. So they felt they're safe. They are more superior because of the numbers, and you know what happened. You saw what happened. God does not want people to trust in human beings nor in numbers. But David went ahead and counted people to know their number. Job resisted, but as the commander-in-chief, but David said, go. It was very grievous to the Lord. Because of that, 70,000 people died because of that sin of David. But incidentally, David was not one of them. He even requested God that instead of killing other people, I'm the one who sinned, kill me. God did not kill him. He had special grace from God. And precious people, look at now the heart of David. He spared Saul twice. That's why his heart was different. That's why God gave him different grace. Saul wanted to kill him. I think on more than 4 occasions he wanted to kill him. He wanted him dead. When he learned that Samuel has anointed him by the instructions of God to take over from him, God has rejected him. He wanted to kill David. And then God gave David 2 nice chances to kill him. The last one was so obvious. Saul went to relieve himself in a cave just next to David. So David would have killed him. Instead, he cut a piece of his garment. David did not kill him. He had a special heart. He did not believe in revenge, and he said, I cannot touch the anointed of God. If it was you or even me, and the person who wants to kill you has been chasing you for the last 3 months in the forest, on the rocks, in the valleys, and then an opportunity presents itself, you would say, God has remembered me. God has remembered me. You would have no qualms killing. There are even others who have killed people without any good reason, just suspicion, just feeling threatened. They have killed people who are not even aware they are enemies. But David could not. And because of this special heart, they had to show mercy. He gives mercy. He said, if you live with mercy, you'll receive mercy. But if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword. If you don't show mercy, if you show mercy, that's the language of God through Jesus Christ, you will receive mercy. If you don't show mercy, then you will die without mercy. And on account of God, David showed a lot of mercy, more so to King Saul, because he had been anointed by God. And God decided to show him grace, mercy that he does not deserve. Let us look at the old men of old who had one wife, who did not engage in sexual immorality, adultery, like David. Just to know that it is possible. That people said in the Bible, oh, it was normal, it was acceptable. No, it was not acceptable. Look at Enoch. Enoch had one wife. He lived at a time when the world was not overpopulated as it is today. He had one wife. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not. Abraham had one wife. Ideally, he had one wife. It's just the doings of Sarai, the wife, was pushing him because she wanted her hair. But Abraham did not want. And even after she sired with Tamar, with Hagar, and then Sarai conceived, he was willing and actually sent away Hagar with her son, with her son, so that she was not part of the inheritance. He only remarried when Sarai died, Keturah, with whom he had 8 sons, one of them being Midian, the tribe of Midian, where we had the priests of Midian, where Moses ran to when he was running from Pharaoh of Egypt. Adam had one wife, Eve. If God thought that having more than one wife is a great thing, the one person, like I said, who would have had 20 or 50 would have been Adam. The son, Cain, was given one of her sisters. The brother Seth had one wife. Noah had one wife. Their sons had one wife. Moses, the great one, had one wife. And Joseph had also one wife. Joshua had one wife. Caleb had one wife. Aaron, the high priest, had one wife. Samuel, the great prophet, had one wife. Isaac had one wife. Go on and on and on. His son Jacob and Esau had more than one wife, and they had problems. They had problems you cannot imagine. And all this, with the exception of Moses, they didn't kill. They didn't kill anyone. They didn't commit sexual immorality. They were the great men of old. So even as David was doing these things, they are his predecessors who had lived right, walked right, and married one wife, and honored God and served God. Now, precious people, in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 17, God had instructed people, more so kings, not to multiply wives, because once you have more than one wife, you will tend towards sin, towards evil, because the wives will be fighting for your attention, their relatives will be fighting for access to wealth, for access to power, and idol worship and witchcraft and evil are easily bred in such an environment. And because of his heart, these people did not kill, and they lived before God and served before God. David and David, killed, but he is counted among these people. He read and is counted among these people. He did not die because of this evil. But in the Bible, there are people who did the same and died. Joab killed Abner, cold blood. He died through the hand of Solomon. And David said, I don't want to kill him because I'm not in a position to judge. I've also done it. But Solomon ensured he does not go to his grave with gray hair. So Solomon ordered Abner and Joab to be killed. Ahab killed to get the vineyard. He died. His wife also, Jezebel, also died, was eaten by dogs. Amnon raped his sister. He died. Absalom killed and raped the concubines of David. He slept with them on the parapet. Though it was the doing of God, he told David through Prophet Nathan that you slept with somebody's wife in secret. You was. Yeah? People will sleep with them in the public. And then, apart from that, the sword is not going to leave your house. And the sword entered his house. There was a lot of murders and death. And Absalom, when he was chasing him away to take over the kingdom and to kill him, he took over his concubine. David left his concubine. He escaped with his wife and left his concubine. And what happened? He was advised by Ahithophel that for him to become so disgraceful to his father, he should take his concubines, put them on the parapet, on the rooftop, and sleep with them when all Jerusalem is seen. He did that. And he died. And Samson committed sexual sin, morality, and disobeyed the laws of God concerning Nazirites. He died. Moses, great man of God, but he got angry and hit the rock, disobeyed God. God had said, talk to the rock. He was so angry with the Israelites for continually nagging him. He hit the rock with a rod. And because of that, God said, you will not see the promised land. You will die here. It is possible because of the escapades and the achievements of Moses. He was actually in the league of Elijah. He was poised to have been raptured in my own thinking, because there's nothing Elijah did more than Moses. There's nothing Enoch did more than Moses. And Moses, the only man who talked with God face to face, saw the form, the glory of God, and lived, and caused even the elders of Israel to come in the presence of God to see the form of God. And because of Moses, he did not kill them. But Moses died, did not even see the promised land for disobedience because of anger. David did worse, but he saw the goodness, the promises of God. Now, precious people, we have been given special grace to execute our special mission or our special mandate. It is very risky for you to compare yourself to somebody else. People have different grace. If somebody did something and got away with it, don't think you can do it and get away with it. If David married 7 wives and killed somebody so that he can take over his wife, and still stood in the presence of God to serve, don't you ever imagine that you can do that and get away with it, just like David. No. We have different grace, because if it was you who was being chased by Saul to be killed, you would not give him a second chance. In fact, you would go to look for him to kill him. You would not be running away from him. He comes, God gives him to you, and then you don't kill him. David had a different heart, therefore had a different grace because of his different mission. And of all the kings of Israel, is the one who ensured there is justice, and there was no idol worship in Israel during the time of David. But we see son Solomon, great king, but he reintroduced idol worship in Israel in spite of the goodness of the Lord to him. That during his time there was peace. God ensured that there were no wars, and that gold and silver was so common in Israel, in Jerusalem. But because of that, in spite of that, he still went away. Married 700 foreign wives, had 300 concubines. You wonder, because even dealing with 10 is chaotic. How do you deal with 700? How do you have? So it was just abnormal lust, allowing the spirit of lust to drive it. And it encouraged idol worship, because those daughters of foreign kings, they brought idol worship and coerced him to worship. They cajoled him to worship the idol, so that when he was dying, he had fallen backslided. We have different grace. Usiwahi ona mtu amefanya kitu ukafikiria na wewe utafanya. No. Usiwahi ona Mungu ametumia mtu kufanya kitu ukaassume hata wewe kumbe unaweza fanya, because you think after all this David was just a shepherd boy. Namjua kijana wa Jesse, wao ni maskini huko kwa vichaka. Kama anaweza rise na kuwe mfalme, hata mimi naweza rise na kuwe mfalme. You don't know the heart God gave to David, and you don't know the sacrifices David made on account of God. You don't know how much David was willing, what David was willing to do to please God. And even look at David, when Prophet Nathan goes to rebuke him, he humbles in sackcloth. How many kings would do that? Many in the Bible would tell the prophet, be very careful how you talk to a king. Be very careful, otherwise I remove your head. They would be too arrogant because of power, and David was powerful because he himself was a mighty warrior, and then he had a great army, and then he had the grace of God. But when he hears Prophet Nathan comes to rebuke him in the palace, he humbles in sackcloth. How many people can do that? So before you are trying to compare yourself with David, check out yourself. How many times have you blown up and exacted revenge even on suspicion of enmity, maiming and harming and hurting people who are not even aware they are your enemy? They are not even aware enmity is existing. God created you differently and gave you different grace so that you can execute a certain mandate. Do it even in the best of your ability, seeking the guidance of God. Don't seek the guidance. Don't seek the standards of other men, because we are different. Look at what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 20. It should be verse 1 to verse 12. He says that farm owner went to his farm, and as he went, he had servants who wanted a job. They came at 7, he gave them a job. As he was working at 10, he found people idling. He said, go to the farm. At midday, found others, sent them to the farm. At 5, just 1 hour before the day ends, he found others idling on the streets and asked them, why are you here? Said, we looked for a job, we didn't get, no one hired us. He go to my farm. Then when it comes to time for payment, he He gave all of them a dinari. A dinari was the equivalent of a day's work. Probably kama unafanya huko industry labda ni 500, kama wewe ni fundi labda ni 1500 per day or 1000 or whatever. The point is that ule alikuja saa moja, ule alikuja saa 11. Both who came up to 7 and 5, all of them got a dinari, a day's wage. And those who came early were complaining. They were complaining, saying, no. And the Bible says he started by paying those who came at 5, and they gave them a dinar. At 2, a dinar. At 10, a dinar. So those who came at 7, they came forward very hopeful. They knew they were going to get at least 3 or 4 dinars. But the man gave them 1 dinar, and they were complaining. And then he asked them, when you came, how much did we agree that I'll pay you a dinar? How much I'll pay you a dinar? But they said, but these ones came at 5 and you also paid them a denarius. And he told them, no, it is my grace. It is my generosity. If I choose to be generous with my money, what has that got to do with you? What has that got to do with you? If I choose to give David grace and I refuse to give Moses grace, what is that to you? The world is mine. They are my servants. If I choose to kill Ahab, a king, for killing somebody to get his vineyard, and then I don't kill David for killing somebody to get his wife, all of them are mine. The world is mine. You ask me questions. You ask, where were you when I created the world? So, precious people, I want to encourage you to go in your place of prayer and ask God to help you understand. To help you understand. There are people who cannot be bewitched. For example, I know them. You can't bewitch them. When you bewitch them, it's like a blessing to them. When you do evil to them, it's like you are now activating the grace of God over their lives, and He comes through for them in a mighty way. The others, when they do something small, they are hurt. God withdraws, because we have been given different grace. Then our missions and our mandate are different, even according to God. I want to encourage you, go find out. If you are not sure, go find out your purpose, your mandate in life. Then tap into the grace that has been assigned to that mandate. Because the God of heaven is mighty. He says when He begins a job, He must ensure that it is accomplished, it is finalized. The Lord bless you and help you. Again, I want to advise you, don't rely on somebody's grace, because the assignment is different. You try to do what somebody did. You try to pass where somebody passed, thinking that you'll also have the same thing. Like Pharaoh and his army tried to pass, to go into the Red Sea, because the Israel had passed. And what they discovered, they never had the chance to rectify. All of them were swallowed and drowned in the Red Sea. When just 3 million people, together with their cows and animals and flocks, had just passed. We have different graces. We have different graces. That Daniel would go into Babylon as a slave, become a prime minister, when others went there and died. That Joseph also would go into Egypt as a slave and become the prime minister. There are many people who went there as slaves and died. We have different grace, precious people. Usione mtu wivu. Usitamani vitu vya mtu ama position ya mtu ama kibali cha mtu. Usitamani familia yake na kazi yake, hapana, na huduma yake. We have different grace. Ukipewa ya mtu hautaweza. May the Lord help you to discover and rediscover your mission, your ministry, and the grace that is operative in your ministry, in your mission, in your life. And then using that grace, achieve the purpose of God in your life. The Lord bless you. See you next Sunday. Shalom.